Ever tried explaining something and it's just way over someone's head?
Yeah, like talking quantum physics to a toddler.
Exactly. And it turns out the same thing can happen when we're training AI.
We're talking about instruction tuning, right, for large language models.
Yeah. It's like giving an AI a crash course in, well, how to follow instructions and be helpful.
Like teaching them to be better students, basically.
Okay, so this research paper from the University of Washington and the Allen Institute for AI, it's all about instruction tuning, right?
Right, and they're focusing on whether the AI teacher influences how well the AI student learns.
Ah, so they're looking at different AI models as the teachers and seeing how that impacts the learning process of other AIs, the students.
They tested 20 different teacher AIs across 7 model families, including some you've probably heard of, like Llama and GPT-4.
Okay, familiar names. So did they find that the most advanced AI teachers produced the best student AIs?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. The research actually found that bigger, more powerful teacher AIs didn't always lead to the best student AI performance.
Hold on, so bitter isn't always better? But I thought the whole trend was towards building these massive AI models. What's going on here?
It's something they call the larger models paradox. It challenges the idea that just using the most advanced AI is going to get you the best results.
Can you give us an example of that paradox in action?
Sure. They found that Gemma 2.9 a relatively small model, actually outperformed Gemma 2.27 which is much larger.
Wow, okay, so size isn't everything. What else did they find?
Similar results with other models. 5.3 small actually beat 5.3 medium. And get this, even Llama 3.170b Instruct performed better than the massive Llama 3.14005b Instruct.
So what are we missing then? What actually makes a good AI teacher?
Well, the researchers found that a crucial factor is something they call compatibility.
Compatibility. Okay, I'm intrigued. Explain.
Different AI models have different architectures, right? Different ways they're built, different ways they process information.
Right. So you're saying different AIs have different learning styles.
Exactly. Just like, a teaching method for a college student probably wouldn't work for a kindergartner. Different AI architectures learn best from different types of examples.
That actually makes a lot of sense. It's about speaking the same language, kind of.
Precisely. And this has big implications for how we approach AI development moving forward. It's not just about building bigger and bigger models. It's about understanding how they learn and finding the right match between the teacher and the student.
So how did they figure out which AI models were compatible in this study?
They focused on the concept of loss. Put simply, loss is a measure of how much the student AI struggles to grasp the info from the teacher AI.
Okay, so lower loss means...
Lower loss equals better compatibility. It means the student AI can understand the teacher more easily.
Got it. So a smaller AI might actually learn better from a smaller teacher AI, just because they're more on the same wavelength.
That's the idea. They speak in more similar language. It's like when someone explains something to us using familiar terms and concepts, we get it better.
Right. It's tailored to our level of understanding. So this research is suggesting that we need to be a lot more strategic when choosing AI teachers.
Yes. It's not just about raw power anymore. It's about finding the right fit, the right teacher-student pairing.
This is definitely making me rethink how I see the AI landscape. It's a lot more nuanced than I originally thought. So is model size the only factor that affects how well an AI learns? Or are there others?
Oh, there's definitely more to it than just size. There were some other really interesting findings from this research, too.
Like what? Tell me more.
Well, one thing they found is that AIs often learn best from teachers that are from the same family, meaning they have similar underlying architectures.
So even in the AI world, family matters.
It seems so. It's like how, siblings might pick up on things from each other more easily because they have a similar way of thinking.
Fascinating. What else?
Here's a big one. They found that open source AIs, the ones that are freely available, sometimes outperformed those big closed source giants like GPT-4.
Wait, seriously? The freely available AIs were sometimes better teachers than the models developed by these huge tech companies with tons of resources.
Yep, that's what they found.
That's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? Like it levels the playing field in a way.
Absolutely. It could really democratize AI development, making it more accessible and affordable for everyone.
So anyone could have access to a world-class AI teacher, potentially.
Amazing.
But hold on. If we're trying to find the perfect teacher-student match for AI, wouldn't that mean running tons of experiments every single time? That doesn't sound very practical.
You're right, that would be incredibly time-consuming, and that's why the researchers developed a new metric. They call it Compatibility-Adjusted Reward, or K.
KER. Okay, tell me more.
So, SciR considers both the quality of the teacher AI's responses and its compatibility with the student AI.
So it helps you predict which teacher will be most effective without actually having to go through the whole training process.
Exactly, like a shortcut to finding the best AI tutor.
I love it. So we've learned that it's not just about throwing the most powerful AI at every problem. It's about finding the right fit, the perfect match between teacher and student, even in AI.
And that's a really key takeaway from this research. It highlights how important it is to go beyond just focusing on the size and power of the AI models and start thinking more strategically about how they learn and how we teach them.
This whole conversation is making me think about how much this research actually mirrors human learning.
It's a really interesting parallel, isn't it? The idea of compatibility, different learning styles, finding the right teacher, it's all very relevant to how we learn as humans.
Exactly. It's making me think that maybe we can learn a thing or two from how we're teaching AI.
Absolutely. And we'll dive deeper into that connection between AI and human learning a bit later. But first, let's take a closer look at some of the techniques the researchers use to refine those teacher AI responses, because those play a crucial role in how well the student AI learns too.
Sounds good. Let's get into those techniques then. All right, so finding the right AI teacher for the right AI student, it's like a matchmaking service for AI, kind of.
In a way, yeah, but it's not just about who the teacher is, it's also about how they teach.
Right, you mentioned some techniques for refining the teaching process. What were those again?
Well, they looked at things like temperature and pop sampling, which are ways to control how the AI teacher generates its responses.
Those sound a bit technical. Can you break it down for me? How do those actually work?
Okay, so imagine the AI is brainstorming different answers to a question, right?
Okay, yeah.
Temperature is like a dial that controls how creative, how wild those brainstorms can get.
So a higher temperature means,
Higher temperature means the AI is more likely to go for those surprising, unexpected answers.
I see. And a lower temperature keeps things more uh, predictable, I guess.
Exactly, but you don't want the AI to go completely off the rails,
Yeah.
right? That's where top sampling comes in. It makes sure that the AI's responses, even the creative ones, still make sense, grammatically speaking.
So it's like having an editor making sure the AI's ideas are actually understandable.
Exactly, like shaping those brilliant but maybe a little rough ideas into something clear and coherent.
Okay, that makes sense. So by tweaking these parameters, they could fine-tune the teacher AI's responses so they're a better fit for how the student learns.
Precisely. And they found that using these techniques, strategically, of course, they could actually significantly improve the student AI's performance.
So it's not just about focusing on how big and powerful the AI model is, it's also about how it actually communicates, how it teaches.
Exactly. It's about the quality of the teaching, not just the quantity.
You know, this whole conversation keeps bringing me back to those open source models. The fact that they can sometimes outperform those giants, like GPT-4, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about why that's such a big deal?
Well, you see, for a long time, cutting-edge AI development, it's been mostly happening within a few big tech companies.
Right.
They have the resources, right? They build these incredible, powerful models, but a lot of them are closed source.
So not everyone has access to them.
Exactly. Access is often restricted, it can be expensive, so it creates barriers for smaller organizations, for researchers, developers who maybe don't have the same kind of funding.
It's like a select few have the keys to the kingdom, kind of.
Yeah, and that can stifle innovation, right? It limits who can work with these powerful AI tools. But with open source, it's a whole different story.
Because anyone can use them.
Exactly. Anyone can access them, use them, even modify them. It levels the playing field. And the fact that some of these open source models are proving to be such effective teachers, well, it's really exciting.
It suggests we could see a lot more AI development coming from all sorts of places we might not expect.
It's like democratizing AI, right? Giving everyone the opportunity to learn and create with these powerful tools.
I love that idea. So we've got compatibility, we've got the role of open source AI, even some specific techniques for improving how the AI teaches. But I keep coming back to this idea of AI mirroring human learning.
It's a fascinating parallel, isn't it?
It is. Are there any key takeaways from this research that we can actually apply to how we teach and learn as humans?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways for me is the importance of personalization. You know, just like these different AI models have unique learning styles, strengths, weaknesses, human students do too.
Absolutely. We all learn in different ways, but it seems like traditional education often forgets that, doesn't it?
Yeah, we often rely on this one-size-fits-all approach. Group students by age and expect everyone to learn at the same pace. But we know that doesn't really work for everyone.
Right. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly. This research really reinforces the need for a more personalized approach in human education, too. Imagine a learning environment where each student's individual needs and learning styles are taken into account.
It sounds amazing, but also really challenging. How could we actually create a system like that
Well, I think it starts with a shift in mindset. We need to move away from the idea that there's only one right way to learn.
and embrace the diversity of learning styles?
Exactly. Empower teachers to cater to those differences, encourage students to advocate for their own needs, and ultimately create a system that values individual growth over standardized tests.
I think technology could play a big role here too, right?
Absolutely. We're already seeing things like adaptive learning platforms, tools that can give personalized feedback, even AI-powered tutoring systems.
Like having an AI tutor who can adapt to each student's individual needs, kind of like those teacher AIs we talked about.
Precisely. But technology is just a tool. It's really about fostering a culture of personalization.
A culture where everyone feels empowered to learn in the way that works best for them.
Exactly. And maybe by learning from AI, by seeing how we can tailor the learning process for machines, we can discover even more effective ways to personalize education for humans, too.
And help every student reach their full potential. That's a powerful idea.
It is. It's about recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Everyone learns differently, and that's a good thing.
Okay, so we've talked about compatibility, open source AI, even how this research can apply to human learning. Anything else about the findings or the techniques they used that you found particularly interesting?
Yeah, actually, one thing that stood out to me was their use of reject sampling.
Reject sampling, what's that?
It's a technique where the AI teacher actually generates multiple responses and then chooses the best one to show the student.
So it's like the AI is self-editing, picking the most effective way to explain something.
Exactly. They found that this technique, combined with carefully tuning those temperature and top sampling parameters we talked about, it really led to significant improvements in how well the student AI learned.
It's almost like a reminder that good communication is an art, even for AI.
Absolutely. And as AI continues to evolve, understanding these subtleties of communication will only become more important.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. It's amazing how research into AI can reveal so much about ourselves and about how we learn as humans.
Mhm.
But I think we're about ready to wrap things up for today.
Sounds good. We've covered a lot of ground.
Before we go, any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah.
So much to unpack here. We've explored all this research on AI and how these models learn, and honestly, what's sticking with me is how much it mirrors our own human learning challenges.
Yeah, the parallels are striking.
You mentioned personalized learning earlier. Could we dig into that a bit more? What could that actually look like, in a real classroom?
Well, imagine, instead of this one-size-fits-all approach, we have a system where teaching is tailored to each student.
So not assuming everyone learns best from, like, lectures and textbooks.
Right. Some students might thrive with hands-on activities. Others, they might be visual learners.
So it's about recognizing all those different learning styles and then actually letting students learn in the way that clicks for them.
Exactly. Giving them the tools and the flexibility to explore and discover what works best.
But how do we actually put that into practice? Creating individual lesson plans for every student. Logistically, it sounds like a nightmare.
I mean, it definitely requires a different approach, but technology can help. We've got things like adaptive learning platforms, which can adjust the difficulty level based on how a student's doing.
Okay, and what about those AI-powered tutoring systems?
Those too. They can offer personalized feedback and support along the way.
So it's like every student gets their own custom AI tutor, just like those AI teachers we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. But we can't forget the human element. Technology is just a tool.
Right, we need to build a whole culture around personalized learning.
Exactly. And that means giving teachers the training and resources they need to support all those different learning styles.
And helping students become more self-aware, knowing how they learn best, and being able to ask for what they need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a shift from that traditional model where the teacher is just giving information to a more collaborative approach.
I like that. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Scaling this up, making personalized learning work for everyone, that's got to be a huge challenge.
Oh, for sure. Any big change in education comes with hurdles. One of the biggest is that deep-seated belief that there's only one right way to teach, one right way to learn.
It's that standardized testing mentality, right?
Exactly. And breaking free from that, well, it takes a system-wide shift from how we design the curriculum to how we train teachers to how we measure learning.
Sounds like a big task.
It is. But the payoff could be huge. If we can actually build a system that embraces all those different learning styles, well, imagine the potential we could unlock for every student.
It's about making education more equitable, more engaging for everyone.
Exactly. Creating a system where students are actually excited to learn because they know they're going to be supported and challenged in a way that makes sense for them.
Now that's a future worth fighting for. And this research into how AI learns, it really gives me hope that we're moving in the right direction.
It shows us that it's possible to tailor learning in powerful ways.
Maybe by studying how we teach AI, we can learn even more about how to personalize education for humans.
It's a great example of how seemingly different fields can actually come together and inform each other in really profound ways.
Well said. This deep dive has been mind-blowing. So grateful to have had you here to guide us through it all.
My pleasure. It's been a fascinating conversation.
And to everyone listening, we encourage you to check out the show notes, dig a little deeper into this research, and think about what it means for both AI and for the future of human learning. Until next time, keep those minds curious.